Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about a topic that is present in every moment of our life. When we laugh, when we fight, when we succeed, when we fail, and that is emotional quotient or EQ. Let's begin with this small story. In a school, there is two students, that is Ravi and Arjun. They wrote the same exam and also both failed. Ravi closed his eyes for 2 minutes, took a deep breath and said, "Okay, this is not the end. Next time I will do better." He went home and studied harder. But Arjun threw his bag and blamed the teacher and yelled at classmates and quit studying for days. Now tell me, who is emotionally stronger? Not mentally, not academically, but emotionally. That strength, the strength to remain the stable when life shakes us, is the emotional quotient. That is EQ. IQ helps us solve the math problem, but EQ helps us solve the life problems. Now, many people confuse emotional intelligence and emotional quotient. Let me explain in the simplest way. Think of learning to drive a car, understanding the road, staying calm, controlling the vehicle smoothly. That ability is emotional intelligence. But when you take a driving test and they give you a score, and that score is EQ, means emotional quotient. So, emotional intelligence is the ability and emotional quotient is the measurement of that ability. So that is very simple. Next, why EQ matters? Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who is very smart but nobody likes to work with them? Or someone with less knowledge but everyone trusts them and follows them? That's EQ. The first one is physical health. When emotions control us, we break. When we control emotions, we stay healthy. People who are stressed all the time fall sick easily, but emotionally strong people heal faster and live longer. Second one is mental stability. As IAS and IPS officer deal with public anger, disaster, complaints every single day. Without EQ, they will collapse mentally. The third one is relationship. A person with the EQ listens before speaking, understands before judging. Fourth one is conflict resolution. Means imagine two officers fighting over credit. A high EQ officer doesn't take sides. They listen and make peace. Fifth one is success. Life hits all of us. EQ helps us rise again. Sixth one is leadership. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, people who loved him because of his emotional warmth, not because of power, but because of empathy. Daniel Goleman said something powerful, that is IQ contributes 20% to success, but EQ contributes 80%. In offices, everyone has degrees, but only some become leaders. Let me give you an example. Imagine a boss who shouts at employees every day. Even if he is brilliant, nobody works happily. But imagine a boss who listens, supports, motivates. Even average employees works like champions. That is the magic of EQ. It converts competition into collaboration. EQ has 5 major components like the 5 fingers of the same hand. The first one is self-awareness and self-regulation, motivation, empathy and social skills. And these are things already we covered in the previous classes, so I will skip that. Let's imagine an IAS officer in a protest situation. In that, crowd angry and police tense and media shouting and politician calling. If the officer panics, it becomes a disaster. If the officer shouts, it creates the violence. But if the officer stays calm, listens, speaks with respect, it creates the peace. So, one mind saves the 1,000. Suppose a flood hit a district. The phones non-stop and people crying and no sleep for days. One officer panicked and screamed at staff. The team will be collapsed. The another officer stayed calm and said, "We will solve this together, I trust you." That one sentence became oxygen and people worked day and night and the situation came under control. That is EQ in action. Next, EQ and leadership. A leader who cannot understand emotions is just a boss, but a leader with EQ becomes inspiration. The Gandhiji led the world without weapons. How? Because he touched hearts. So power is not a leadership, connection is a leadership, okay? In old bureaucracy, the files are greater than people and rules also greater than emotions. But today governance needs humanity. When a mother comes crying after for her missing son, she doesn't need rules. She needs empathy. So people don't remember what officer said. They remember how officer made them feel. That is administrative EQ. Now, change is uncomfortable. That is, transfer reforms digital shift. It creates fear, stress, and insecurity. An emotional intelligence officer says, "Don't worry, I will help you through this." And you should not order to them, and you have to support. And that resistance becomes the cooperation. So, EQ is not about controlling others, EQ is about controlling ourselves. When we manage our reactions, we manage our life. So, remember these 5 words: self awareness, self regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. These are not soft emotions, they are strong administrative tools. EQ is the human face of governance. So friends, that's it for today's class on emotional quotient. I hope you understood it deeply and emotionally. In the next lecture, we will learn another useful topic from ethics. If you found this useful, please like, share and subscribe to my channel.